Off the Carolina coast, in the pre-dawn darkness, the industrial cathedral known as Atlantica, her deck hummed with preparation. Every seal, every joint was tested for the crushing pressure to come. They took their positions, a triad of skill bound for the abyss. Each movement was an unconscious rehearsal of survival. Below, the Atlantic stretched to every horizon, a dark and restless plain waiting to receive them. The pilot triggered the ballast flood. In 60 seconds of controlled dissolution, their world became negatively buoyant.
The surface dropped away. The world of light and air became memory, replaced by a gradient of sinking blue.
At 200 meters, the last hints of surface light extinguished. The pressure mounted with mathematical certainty.
He activated the external lights, carving tunnels through a perpetual gentle rain of the ocean's dead. Their instruments painted the unseen world. The bottom remained an abstraction, 3,000 meters below.
The specialists tested the manipulator arms. Every system had to function perfectly. Down here, failure cascaded into catastrophe.
The bottom appeared first on sonar. The pilot halted their fall, achieving a delicate balance 10 meters above the abyssal plain. They began the search, moving in expanding squares across coordinates that had cost millions to acquire. Hours dissolved into the repetitive geometry of the grid. North, east, south, east. A pattern against the void. The sediment told its slow stories. Grooves from ancient drags, mineral nodules grown over millennia.
Contact. Massive signature.
The pilot spiraled toward the source. Side scan revealed a shape too regular, too deliberate to be geological.
It was a concentration of precious material. Not a lost cargo, but the cargo itself. The pilot held position. The specialist extended the manipulator arm, a probe of human will into the ancient deep.
The readings defied explanation. Not ore, but refined material.
Signal away. Third seconds to the surface, sir.
She sent the confirmation pulse, a message traveling through water denser than concrete.
The response came back. Position marked. Recovery sequence authorized.
The first task, clear the sediment. Expose the attachment points that would bear the strain of a 3-kilometer lift. The dredge roared, transforming the water into a storm of suspended history. Slowly, the structure emerged from its centuries-long embrace. A forest of tube worms had claimed it as their own. The worms had to be cleared. Their delicate, decades-old lives ended in seconds, a necessary casualty of recovery.
Time was their other enemy. They had 6 hours before physics demanded they return to the world of air.
With meticulous care, they placed the lifting pads. Each connection had to be perfect. Each lock a promise against catastrophic failure. On sonar, the lift cable descended. A braided steel rope as thick as a man's leg. A lifeline from the world above. The mechanical fingers closed on forged steel. The connection had to be measured in millimeters.
After minutes of trial, the first connection engaged. A perfect tolerance. 1 down, 3 to go.
The work consumed hours, each connection a battle against gentle, constant currents and the tyranny of distance. The final cable locked. The structure now hung in a cradle of steel, ready for its long journey upward. They pulled back to observe. The preliminary tensioning began, transferring the load from seabed to steel.
The structure resisted, held by centuries of friction, by the simple weight of its own history.
Then, movement. It tore free, and the abyss erupted in a storm of silt and protest. Blind, they trusted their instruments. The vibrations spoke of tonnage moving against gravity's will.
The storm settled. What emerged was transformed. Metal gleamed with colors that should not exist in the deep.
The inscriptions were clear now. Not random marks, but a careful accounting.
Orpheus began her own ascent, following the prize. The illusion was of hanging motionless while the world fell away.
A guardian of the deep circled once, a creature from a time before men, then left them to their work. Clouds of lanternfish, their bodies like stars, overwhelmed the darkness. A galaxy flowing around a sun of metal.
The world began to brighten. Deepest blue heralded the twilight zone, and the slow return to atmospheric pressure.
Above, a mirror. The chaotic, breathing interface they had left hours before. It breached first. Centuries ended in a roar of displaced water and a baptism of sunlight.
Orpheus followed, born again into the world of wind and wave and towering steel.
On the mothership, the final act began. The cranes held their prize, a gift lifted from the crushing dark.
Secure in her cradle, Orpheus opened her hatch. The mission was over. The recovery had begun. The crew emerged, their bodies still holding the memory of the deep. They joined the silent congregation.
Water jets blasted away the final centuries. The truth of their find began to emerge beneath the spray.
It was not a singular object, but a library of wealth. Ingots, stacked with geometric precision.
Gold like captured afternoon sun, silver like a perfect mirror, and markings on each bar, a language of the lost. They stood in silence. The arithmetic of wealth was beyond them in this moment of pure, physical presence. He touched it, metal warm from the sun, yet emerging from near-freezing dark, a bridge across time. The engineer documented the mystery. The pilot studied the architecture of the treasure itself. Around them, the routine of the ship had stopped. They were all witnesses now to a recovery that transcended salvage. The deck boss brought the analyzer. Proof was needed, even when standing amidst such obvious truth.
The results came. Gold refined to near-perfect purity. Source, land, not sea. This was not a natural formation. The inscriptions remained. A message from the makers. Inventory.
The Atlantic spread to every horizon, its depths concealing other caches, other commitments to the abyss. But today belonged to this recovery, to the skill, the risk, and the triumph of returning from the dark with precisely what they sought. The weight of fortune was now tangible, secured by chains on a steel deck. But the memory of the descent remained.
On the bridge, calculations were already being made, numbers scrolling into the hundreds of billions.
According to the user prompt and the audio description, The audio is silent. Therefore, no transcription is needed.
The process of preservation began. Each layer separated, protected for the journey ashore. A young Caucasian deckhand, his routine world shattered by the physical proof of a myth made real.
The engineer sent the inscriptions into the digital world, where linguists and cryptographers would soon wage their own quiet war.
The pilot looked from the empty point of descent to the secured prize. The circle was closed. The risk had been validated.
In her mind, a South Asian woman replayed the moment.
It was caged. The fortune was wrapped and bound to the deck, a captive of its own immense value.
From above, the scale was undeniable. A new topography had been added to the ship's deck.
They retreated into the mystery. The what was found. The who and why remained, hidden in etched lines.
As night fell, a new shift began. One of guardianship.
Suits from the company, a metallurgist and security. The transition from operational to corporate began.
Handshakes were exchanged, but all attention was magnetic, pulled toward the gleaming mound on the deck.
Initial confirmation wasn't enough. He needed a sample, a physical piece to subject to the gauntlet of his lab.
His job was to see vulnerabilities. Every knot, every camera blind spot, every human factor was a potential flaw.
The specialist signed. His fortune was now digital, abstract. Yet the weight of the real thing still pulled at him.
They were. And now they're not. That's the transaction, the cost of the find. Heavy.
The supply vessel brought the treasure's new womb, armored, climate-controlled containers for its journey ashore.
The deconstruction began, each ingot logged, numbered, and entombed in its protective case. The hoard became an inventory. Ancient mystery met modern tracking. The past was now cataloged in a corporate database. The metallurgist left with her fragments, eager to unravel the secrets of composition and origin in her sterile laboratory.
With the final seal applied, the treasure officially changed hands, from the crew of the Atlantica to the corporation's custody.
As the sun set, the supply vessel departed. The deck was suddenly, strangely empty. The weight was gone. The crew gathered in the space left behind. The celebration was quiet, tinged with the emptiness that follows a great exertion.
This wasn't about numbers, it was about grit. It was your skill, your patience, and your courage that brought us through. Well done, everyone.
In the dark, the sea still offered its magic, a gentle, living light in their wake, a reminder of the deep's beauty. The view was no longer the abyss, but the containment of the ship. The mission was truly over.
The moment of discovery was not the breaching, but that first electronic whisper from the probe. This is it.
With the treasure gone, routine reasserted itself. The tool that found it required its own care and maintenance. The physical evidence of the deep was cleansed from the machine. Soon, no trace would remain on the hardware. The world had caught the signal. Their private triumph was now global news, reduced to sensational headlines and staggering figures.
The financial transaction reached the crew. On the industrial deck, men and women quietly became millionaires.
For some, the numbers were an abstraction too vast to feel like reality. A new kind of weight settled upon them.
He found his colleague where he expected, buried in the tangible, solvable problems of machinery.
The data stream is fluctuating. Pressure sensor in number 2 ballast tank is reading erratic. Probably got gummed up with that silt.
They worked. The simple, physical ritual of repair was a grounding force, a problem with a known solution.
They're already asking about the next coordinates. The seismic data from the sonar sweep during the lift.
The African-American female...
How far away?
70 nautical miles northeast. Different depth profile. More rugged terrain.
The details were just operational.
Orpheus will need a full bearing check after that sediment blast. His answer was not about the treasure, but about the vessel.
They returned to the simulator, running drills for the next one. The routine was the same, but the context had shifted forever.
Behind the focus, the past was now a ghost in the machine, a benchmark against which all future finds would be measured. Every simulated grab was now haunted by the knowledge of what a real grab could feel like, could be worth.
The hands that had touched ancient gold now waited, idle for a moment, ready to go back to work. The ocean held no markers for their passage, only the ship's wake and the following birds.
Their private triumph was now public spectacle. The world saw only the gleam, not the darkness it was pulled from.
He silenced the outside noise. Here, on the ship, the only relevant economy was depth, pressure, and machinery.
The new coordinates promised a more treacherous landscape. Not a buried plain, but a fractured, ancient geology.
Currents will be chaotic there. Orpheus will get pushed around.
Her mind was already solving problems, not of wealth, but of physics. Currents were the first enemy.
We'll approach from the lee side of this ridge, use it as a windbreak, so to speak.
Their professional intuition landed on the same feature. A place where something might settle and be hidden. In the quiet of the night watch, he performed a tactile ritual, trusting his hands more than any diagnostic screen.
The deep always left its marks. A souvenir of violence, a potential point of failure for the next descent.
Repair was a constant. The ship was an organism healing its own wounds, preparing for the next confrontation.
The dance of preparation began again.
The boy was gone. In his place stood a Deccan who had seen the cost and the reward and had chosen to stay.
The first scientific whispers came back. The metal was not just pure, it was strange. Its story was written in isotopes.
The tools evolved. The next target might not be neat ingots. It might be something that required dissection, study.
Look, this gives us 12% more bottom time. No shortcuts on the ascent profile, though.
This can map the writing in 3 dimensions.
His mind had not let go of the first mystery. The new tools offered a new way to interrogate the past.
The memories were no longer a linear narrative. They were sensory fragments, light, texture, a feeling in the chest.
He returned to the present, to the solidity of the machine. The past was a ghost. The submersible was real.
He brought a talisman, a minuscule piece of the first find, a reminder of what was possible and what was at stake.
All systems green. Pressure integrity at 100%.
The routine was not a repetition. The ocean was never the same. Each descent was its own unique negotiation.
They fell once more into the blue. The memory of the previous void was now a map overlaying the new, unknown one.
The predicted currents were already wrong. The abyss demanded adaptation, moment by moment.
In the absolute dark, faith was a necessary tool. Faith in data, in machinery, and in the simple law of averages.
The new world revealed itself. Not a desert, but a mountain range, drowned in eternal night.
They flew through a submerged cathedral.
the walls a testament to time, measured in the growth of millennia.
The target was a ghost on sonar. The promise of the map dissolved into the chaotic reality of the rock. The laser scanner did its work, stripping away the darkness to reveal shapes. Angular.
Position us over the largest metallic fragment.
The past was not a single trove. It was a field of fragments, a story told in broken pieces.
The arms reached out, not to lift fortune, but to gather evidence. The question had changed from how much to what happened. It was the same maker, the same language of metal. But here, the story was one of catastrophic force.
The scanner mapped a narrative of destruction. Something had fallen, or been thrown, into this rocky grave. They ascended to see the scale of the tragedy. This was not a placed cache. This was a vessel, lost.
Hold position.
Amidst the violence, a survivor. One perfect piece of the cargo, spared by chance or design.
This one ingot was a bridge. It connected the ordered horde they had lifted to this field of shattered mystery.
Energy signature. Faint, residual, coming from the largest fragment.
Her instruments whispered of something more than inert metal.
No, not fission. Something else. Low-level electromagnetic fluctuation. Like a...
Bottom time is limited. We need to decide. Map and sample or attempt retrieval of the power source fragment.
We take the source. It's the key.
The decision was unanimous. The ingots were wealth. This was knowledge, and knowledge had a greater gravity.
In the eternal dark, they created a tiny, violent sun. A necessary violence to liberate truth. The light of their work painted them. They were surgeons in an endless night, operating on a corpse of metal and time.
It was free. An artifact. Not treasure, but a piece of a lost mind. A battery that had dreamed for centuries.
They left the graveyard behind, carrying a piece of its soul. The ascent now felt like a retreat with something pursued. The journey up was charged with new tension. They were no longer lifting metal, but an active piece of the past.
They returned to a world in tumult. The sky itself seemed to acknowledge the strangeness of their cargo. The first sample was almost an afterthought. All eyes were on the submersible's flank, on the sealed locker.
Debrief, now! Every detail!
The moment for contemplation was over. Interrogation had begun. They were witnesses to more than a find.